side. And you know, these I did do a little bit of research. These guys have met before, and it was the Absolute Arena not too far ago. And Black and Gamehoppers, they didn't only meet up once in the bracket. They met up twice, winners and losers. And GH like swept.
Yeah, yeah. Against who again? Against Black?
Black and Gamehoppers.
Oh wow, I didn't realize that we'd seen it before. Yeah, well, I think the last time we saw them though, wasn't Black playing down a man or two, or am I mistaken? Because I remember they had to sub out some guys at one point. You know what? Actually, the MLG Arena, I remember they were at that, and they were missing like 3 of their members, so it was like a completely different team, basically.
It was. They did have to have some pretty major subs when they did Summer Arena, but at least here we got everybody's here, everyone's fine, everyone's healthy, and we also had both of these teams in our elites bracket as well. Black, they made it to top 8, lost out to Teamless. But Gamehoppers didn't even make it out of round of 16, but then again, they did also face up against Fnatic, which coincidentally, the winner of this match will face next.
Oh wow, that's a brutal matchup. Yeah, I mean, we have some really cool matches for the these EU qualifiers for IPL5. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Rengar being banned out, no. So I'm assuming, I guess someone's been playing Rengar. I'm curious if it's El Mupo, or I still don't know how to pronounce his name, but I like saying it that way. But and if he was going to play AP Rengar, or if it would be Bro 2 going with the jungle.
But there's yeah, since the popularity recently of AP Rengar, it seems like a real big threat to have there in the top lane, because top lane champs who just have near seemingly infinite sustain do very well top lane. You do also have champs like Aurelia, the occasional Warwick does pretty well also, but he's still a relatively new champ, hasn't really had a whole lot of tweaks to him. Might as well be safe, ban him out. Same goes with Diana. That Soraka ban is also just square targeted down onto Black. They're pretty well known for their mid Soraka play, and it's a crutch for them. It's something they've used quite often. Not going to have it here. Yeah,
Rengar definitely has been kind of interesting, and it's it's tough. I've actually been struggling with him in lane, but once he gets going, he just snowballs so quickly. His heal, it's difficult to sustain him in lane. It gives you a nice boost because of just how much it heals. It's like 20% of your HP, but it has like a minute cooldown basically, because you have the cooldown of the actual ability, but you also have to build up those stacks from your other abilities. So it actually takes a while to get off. But yeah, definitely some interesting teams so far, and I'm a little bit surprised that they left open the Alistar right off the bat, that Gamehoppers did, but they grabbed the Nunu. That's definitely a comfortable place for them. Theoretically, I mean, Black, they could have picked up the Alistar and Nunu, which, have been 2 of the strongest champions in the game for quite some time. Nunu, in my mind, is the best support in the game. I'm sure most people would agree. A lot of people would agree, at least.
And the best, if Black did decide to go for Alistar and Nunu, it's still such an ambiguous pick, because you're not going to know until the very end, until you actually get into the game, who's jungling and who's supporting, because it's not very clear cut on who does either. We're still not even quite sure. I mean, it could be another support pick. It could be a support Alistar.
Yeah, it could be. It really depends on the situation. And against Nunu, that is it's not really the biggest possibility, because Jungle Alistar is just so strong, and particularly since you get it against Karthus. And Jungle Alistar is one of the best champions, out of the jungle against Karthus, since Karthus is so vulnerable. He can get in those ganks. Skarner is definitely a cool pick, and we've seen how popular Skarner has been recently. Skarner is just so easy to play. I was joking with some of the players, and I played in the past with this guy named Skarnel Trump, and they were all like, "Oh my God, I hate that dude. All he does is play Skarner." And this is on the NA server. But yeah, so some cool picks. We'll see where they go with that. Skarner, early game and mid game is phenomenal, and he has that single target pickoff potential. And then going with the Galio Sivir. So very unusual setup. We haven't really seen this kind of a team for a while, but it's incredibly tanky. Sivir, will have some nice backline damage. The only concern is how their damage scales into late game and whether or not they fall off.
But we have seen Sivir being used quite recently too, for push-oriented comps to try and go ahead and force up the towers very quick. And she's also an amazing split pusher, always has been, always will be. And she does still pair up very well with the Alistar if that is still indeed support. But like I said, that's what we're saving the last pick here for. Black knowing, you know, they got their game plan. They're looking to go with it.
I've actually played games with Sivers in the past, like in ranked, where you have a team fight on one side of the map and people just ignore Sivir. You drag out the team fight for a little bit, and Sivir takes 3 turrets, takes a base inhibitor, like all by herself, just really quickly. And the mobility that she gives her team is phenomenal. But we'll see where they go with that. So probably going to pick up the support here. Probably is Sona, I would think. Makes the most sense to me. Oh, except that Sona is banned. So yes, Sona would have been a strong pick.
Taric.
They could go with a Janna. Janna would give a little bit of protection. Taric would work. I think Blitzcrank's probably where they're going to want to go, though, because Blitzcrank Sivir would be pretty strong, but it also gives them that backline, pick-off potential against like Karthus or whatnot. It would be kind of difficult, but we'll see where they go with it. Right now, Gamehoppers, they have a really strong late-game team, and if Black can't take any early advantages, then Cog, Karthus, Aurelia with the Nunu support and Skarner, that is just such an absurd late game. It's going to be very difficult for Black to penetrate past Nunu into the Kog'Maw, so he's going to be dealing ridiculous amounts of damage. And then Karthus and the rest of them can take care of business. It is a support Alistar. They're switching up.
There you go. So yeah, pretty much in the bot lane with Alistar and Sivir, every time a Pulverize happens, it's pretty much a guaranteed full damage from that Boomerang Blade, which can be an absolute nightmare to deal with.
Yeah, it is very strong, and the benefit is they were kind of concerned. I mean, you look at the supports left, and Blitzcrank and Janna Lulu. Those are the options. They wouldn't want to go Lulu with their lineup. Janna could work, but Janna's really for disengage, so probably not. They could go with Blitzcrank, but they didn't have the best backline penetration. They have a little bit with Alistar, and if Galio flashes in, yes. However, they didn't have a means of disrupting Cog and Karthus, so they wanted to have that Karthus, his global presence a little bit countered out by Nocturnes as well, and Nocturne still will be very strong for those ganks. So we'll see, what kind of pressure they can put on him with the teleport. It's been such a long time since we've seen Galio.
It really has, but Galio, I think Black acknowledges right now that if they don't end the game early, they're pretty much going to lose this thing. So you do have the Galio with that teleport, either top or bottom. He can be wherever he needs to be to just help spiral lane completely out of control while the opportunity is still abounds. And it's gonna be rough because you do have Aurelia top lane, and she gets pretty tanky, she gets pretty sustaining. You also have Kog'Maw bot wisely picking up the cleanse, so it's gonna make those ganks a little bit more difficult. But if Gamehoppers gets a little bit too overzealous, that could be a dead Cog pretty often.
Yeah, and the cleanse, it won't go through the Alistar knockup or anything. It's really just there for the Nocturne. The Galio as well. Later in the game, the cleanse is going to be perfect, because if Galio is able to initiate on Kog'Maw, that is like a free win for Black. That's going to be their end goal, to shut down Kog'Maw really quickly. But it'll be kind of interesting to see. The Yorick pick, Yorick has been one of the strongest top lanes for quite some time, and Yorick versus Aurelia is a pretty common matchup. Yorick wins it early. Aurelia, once she gets a little bit of damage, though, can just easily kill Yorick repeatedly, and it can be a very difficult lane where Yorick just dies again and again and can't really do anything. But however, Yorick later on, he does have that tanky body to poke in, kite around, and then the best part yet is, along with Nocturne, set up those ultimates for Alistar and for Galio. And
Yorick has some pretty good targets too. I mean, he can ult Nocturne or Sivir. He can ult either one, and it'd be really still a fantastic, fantastic situation for him. If you throw Nocturne in, he's going to be going into the middle of these fights, and if by perchance he dies, you still have that. And plus, also, Nocturne and Sivir, they both really benefit from all the attack speed buffs coming on in, especially from the Sivir ult. So they can still, even as a ghoul, get plenty of damage, and they don't necessarily have to die in order to get everything you need. Even if Yorick and Sivir just push a lane by themselves, you ghoul Sivir, and it's all of a sudden a 3-man push. With that ultimate, towers are going to be going down super, super quick.
Yeah, no, Sivir's pushing potential is phenomenal. The only concern with Sivir is her short attack range, and that does make pushing against Karthus difficult. It's the pushes from Sivir, they're going to be occurring when turrets are undefended, or if Black can zone out Gamehoppers with Alistar and Galio, because of the threat of initiation is so massive. They're going to be like, dear God, let's back up a step. But Sivir, if Karthus is defending, then that Karthus wall will just absolutely crush Sivir. And that's going to be a serious issue. And then the follow-up, Karthus wall into the Skarner pool, take down Sivir very quickly, missing out on that AD. The rest of their team doesn't really have the damage to win fights without Sivir being alive. So Sivir does have some decent survivability with the spell shield, with the ultimate as well. And then the passive, the ultimate and passive, the movement speed that you get is just so phenomenal for team fights. However, if Gamehoppers can ever burst down Sivir, that fight is basically over for Black, because they won't have the damage output. They're going to be incredibly tanky. That if they could, potentially win it as that kind of bruiser team, but Sivir, they need to protect her. Yeah,
but hopefully the spell shield and the cow will be more than enough to keep her safe, to keep her from going down. Because and that's the thing too, is that Sivir is. Both of these are very similar comps. They're both protect the AD comps. I mean, that's usually how most Kog'Maw comps go. But yeah, with Sivir and her attack range, you do need a protection that's a little bit more up close and personal. Alistar provides that. Galio provides that. Last-ditch effort, pure emergency button. York, to a certain extent, also provides that. But there's still the aggression there coming in from Nocturne. You can still get those early ganks along with the teleport from Galio. So yeah, hopefully it's sufficient. Hopefully it's enough.
They could go for the lane swap too, because they are on the purple side.
Yeah.
Naprian could start on the red buff. Regardless, he did go with an exhaust. So exhaust on a jungler. If you go for an early gank top, level 3, you get the blue and the red. You go for the early gank top, or even just the level 2 with the red. Red buff along with the exhaust is like a kill on anyone. And top laners, they don't defend against it well enough a lot of times. You see people leave themselves vulnerable. So it's really an underestimated kind of gank. But even with the flash, it's so difficult to avoid. So we'll see what kind of pressure they can put there, because they could send their 2v1 up top. York would actually be in a better situation against Cog and Nunu than Aurelia would be, because York has some of that range farming. Nunu is going to be the issue. Nunu's going to chase him down if they decide to go for that swap. But then they could try and snowball these lanes early. My big concern for Black and this kind of pushing team that they have is that York doesn't have that split pushing potential as the game progresses, because Aurelia naturally beats York as the game gets deeper and gets into the late early game or mid game. Unless York can start off and snowball, because that's always cool. But Aurelia naturally is going to shut down York later on in the game, which means that they're not going to be able to split push multiple lanes. They're going to have to group up as a team and take objectives as a team. Whereas Sivir really thrives in solo pushes and thrives in small team pushes, where she doesn't have to worry about that full initiation. So the lack of a split push from their top laner could be difficult for them. But we'll see. They are grouping up, and the pings are going off for Gamehoppers. They want to get out quickly, make sure they have vision all throughout their jungle, so they can defend against that. I would say, once again, though, guys, thanks to everyone who came to PAX. PAX was awesome. If you guys came, we really appreciate it if you said hi or anything. AG and I, it was a blast. Getting to meet people.
It was fun. It was good. Hope to do it again soon. I'll see you guys at the Season 2 World Champs. But for now, though, we do have our qualifier. So this is game number 1, Black and Gamehoppers. Both teams getting their point defense on. No real invades, no real aggression at the moment. But we will see the Nocturne starting off by the red buff. Not too uncommon for a Nocturne, but as we mentioned before, Champ Select is going for the exhaust, is committed to all those ganks, and Fat Mama just sticking it out in the mid lane. There's a lot of chat going on, but we're not going to check that just
Is Galio going bottom, though? That's what I would like to see, because York is set up top, but Sivir and we've seen Sivir in the past in that mid lane could potentially get a mid lane push. They might swap back. They might just be kind of playing around with them.
Yeah.
So we'll see where they decide to go with that, because Karthus is very strong against. Yeah, I think he is. He's going to be getting. They're going to get wolves and then give blue to face roller, and face roller is going to go bottom, and he's going to have that spam ability versus the Cog and Nunu lane to still be able to farm pretty successfully.
So, and this also begs the question too. We've mentioned before the pushing capabilities of Sivir. Do you think that may just go for a quick tower in mid and then get some more swaps going on?
Oh, 100%. And it's going to be difficult pushing against Karthus. However, Sivir can zone Karthus, try and shut down some of his farm. The little dots, that's going to be an easy mana replenish for Sivir. So Sivir is going to have so much spam ability.
That's right.
A lot of times you can kind of sit back and be like, no, I'm not going to proc your shield. And that's not going to be the case here. If Sivir wants mana, Sivir gets what she, Lola gets what she wants. So we'll see how that works. Karthus should be able to counter push, but if he doesn't have the early mana sustain to just constantly AoE out those creep waves, Sivir could actually push pretty decently into him.
Yep. If you're not quite sure, if you haven't played a whole lot of Sivir, she does have her spell shield. When it does get popped, if it does get consumed and does take a spell, she actually regains mana off of it. So that's going to help immensely, because she's not the most she can get pretty mana hungry. In the meantime, you do have the fear going down on a skirter, does walk right back into the bush, does flash away, pops up the shield, will be getting away just barely, but you have all the other lanes collapsing in here. Fat Mama trying to get onto the ramp, does flash out, is still exhausted. You got Naprin, does take quite a few hits along with the Sivir. Everyone will be just fine.
Yeah, and really nice decision from Black there, not pursuing the Skarner because he was pretty low. The Ignite going off from Alvik. He's chasing out El Mupo. We'll be able to get some early damage, and the early Ignite's usually a nice thing. Even though it doesn't do a lot of damage, it will be up pretty quickly. But Nocturne and Alistar, they got the damage off on Skarner. They forced him to burn the flash, but they recognized bot is moving up, so they had to get out of there. They would have died otherwise if they had tried to tower dive or anything like that. And Nocturne doesn't have flash. That leaves him vulnerable. If he's aggressively counter jungling, you usually need to have a flash for that so you can get out of those situations. So he didn't have a good, easy free win escape method. But in the meantime, Sivir actually OP'ing over the walls, trying to get the race. I'm not sure if she got it or not. Yes, she did. So she was able to pick that up, even though Karthus was coming in trying to prevent her from doing that. So nice job there.
Alvik gonna be buying himself something nice. Fat Mama right out in front. And look at Hawkton, he's very low on mana already. Sivir is still not gonna be that too much of an issue. Also, bot lane, look at Face Roller with that blue buff, can just go ahead and spam everything he wants. And for the moment is actually beating out Kog'Maw in CS.
Yeah, he's doing a really nice job, but Skarner is set up down bottom, so they have to watch out. Fluma is going in for the snowball and will hit it. Face Roller is going to take some damage, but he did get the shield off, so he's okay. Yep. Using the flash, and so actually, he probably could have gotten out without the flash. However, it would have shut down his lane. He would have had to leave, but he wanted to stay in lane because he still had that blue buff. He was still fairly high health, so the preemptive flash very early on, he's fine. He can sit in lane and still farm, so the gank doesn't really affect him that much.
And with that gank, he's playing a little bit more defensive. He's not quite sticking his neck out as far as and rightly so, because Roto was actually still there in the lane waiting for it. Again, more aggressive invades coming here, cleaning up the rest of the Wraiths. Alistar and Nocturne gonna do that together, and that's the thing too, when you have an AD and support in mid, your support on occasion is really free to roam because you're such quick access for the rest of the other lanes. And actually Fat Mom's going to be coming down bot with Naprin trying to get what they can. Their rallies is a little bit too far. The Fear Teth is going into headbutt. Nice flash out just in time. Wanted for that headbutt to come on out, but the snowball going to be hitting Naprin very low in that bush. The minions could have gotten some extra free hits on him, but he did wisely get back into the bush. And once again, no kills quite yet.
Yeah, so they all have been very safe. Galley has to play a little bit more defensively. Now that he's out of mana, he's going to really struggle. He wants to just try and push the lane really quickly and then get back. So he has an opportunity to get back without missing much CS. And so the lane has equalized. He is going to go back now. He might have to burn his teleport, though, so we'll see whether or not he does that or if he just kind of walks down. Sivir preventing the recall from Karthus. So doing a really nice job. And that's the thing. Karthus has run out of mana very early on, and this is where the push is going to start being successful. If they went back now, then they're going to miss out on it a little bit. So we'll see if they decide to keep pushing or if they go back. And yeah, Face Roller did use that teleport.
So it's just a matter of who's going to be backing first here in mid. Dekozy and Fat Mama will actually do so. You do have a tier being built onto York. What is Sivir getting? 2 Dorn's Blades. Pretty good pickup along with some extra potions just to stay a little bit alive a little bit longer there in the mid. Alistar starting to ward on up, working for the Heart of Gold. Probably going to be throwing one of those wards down at the tri-ramp to keep an eye on the Wraiths, because it's pretty easy for Sivir just go ahead, throw Boomerang, and take out the camp.
Yeah, so they can push very quickly. They have been pressuring their bottom jungle quite a bit, but the blue is about to respawn. So we'll see whether they pressure that, because that is an advantage of having the 2v1 mid, is they have a little bit more pressure on that top blue. Karthus can't really do anything about it, so they should be able to steal that fairly easily, and that's going to really hurt Hawkton in that mid lane. So we'll see where they do that. The Chalice on Galio, is really nice, and actually they're all moving up. So yes, they are very aggressively going for this. Galio as well wants to make sure that Gamehoppers hasn't prepared for them, isn't setting up to prevent that blue steal.
The ward right and very nice in the brush. Broto going to do something about it. Elmapo's also made his way in, does have the ult. Nice pulverize there from Fat Mama. York coming on down, trying to get as much damage as he can. Exhaust onto Elmapo, trying to get away. Broto also in retreat. You do have the ghoul coming in from Naprin, but that ghoul will go down. Galio with the ult, getting damage onto Flumus. The ult being popped by Sivir is in pursuit. Got to kill the Nunu. 1, 2, 3. Can you get it? Yes. First blood onto the Sivir in the jungle.
Yeah, and she has plenty of health remaining. They are still fighting. Karthus is getting very low. They're trying to burst him down, and Hawkton does go down, but he still has his ultimate. Aurelia over the wall is able to pick up the Sivir as she flashes, and they do chase them out. Were they able to pick up the blue? Yes, Haprian was able to grab that blue.
Yep.
So successful fight all around, a 2-for-1 exchange. They're able to grab the blue. However, Mr. Riles has been able to farm as a result of it, and is pushing down the tower, and that's exactly what he needs to be doing, trying to get any hits he can on the tower. If they're going to be roaming, you take the tower, it'll help them snowball a little bit away from them.
That was a really good assist there, right? Nice to pick up the kill on Sivir from Elmapo, because granted, yes, Karthus died, but he actually conveniently still gave vision in the area while he was dead, allowing Aurelia to go in with the surge and just keep Sivir stunned and under lock.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Hawkton actually not using his ultimate because he recognized, all right, they're all pretty high health. We're not going to get anyone else that we wouldn't have otherwise.
Right.
He didn't blow it early. He was kind of stuck in the middle of the team, trying to prevent them from stealing or quite getting away freely. But an even exchange, pretty even exchange. Black has an early lead because of it, though. The spell shield, there it is. So just free mana all the time. Decozy saying thank you. However, that could set up a gank later on. So
yes.
Sivir will have to be aware of that. Now that the spell shield's down, it's a 30-second cooldown, so it's a 22 seconds. So it's a long cooldown. So she's going to need to be safe and protect herself against Skarner.
And again, like most champs with shields, like Morgana and the rest, specialty shields like that is not usually the first thing you level up. It's usually the last, actually. So the high cooldown on that is going to remain for the majority of the game. But like we were saying earlier, Black, they want to win this game early. So hopefully the shield will give out.
Alvic is going down. One more attack. The Karthus ult will have it.
Oh.
But there's the headbutt back underneath. So they're able to pick up the kill. Fat Mama coming in there, able to take down Aurelia.
You got Flumus and Rally still looking to push out the Galio. The Bulwark can only do so much. He's being forced right back to his tower, is half health, drinking the potions, wants to stay relevant. But here comes Broto, also is level 6, does have the Impale, can grab that Galio, and he will pull them backwards into the lane, not quite into the brush though, but it's going to be plenty of time for Kog'Maw to go ahead and get all the damage he needs to grab that kill. Nice 3-man gank down bot. They should be able to take the tower off that.
Yeah, and it was nice to see Kog'Maw repositioning himself further down the lane to make sure that he maximized enough time for Face Roller. So Face Roller didn't have an option to really use the flash and try and get out of there. They were able to take him down very easily. He will be vulnerable to those ganks because they are going to be constantly pushing up against the tower, so he's not going to be able to get a ward in the brush. And that means it's just going to be tough. Whenever the lane pushes back, he's going to risk that Skarner ult. So we'll see how he defends himself against that. Galio, doesn't need a lot of items to be successful, and we have seen a lot of AP Galio rather than that old tanky build, just because his damage doesn't really scale that well into late game, so they want to maximize the damage early on. But right now, Black, they're going for that dragon. Karthus is pretty low on mana, so he probably can't defend this.
Decozy right there in the back, Fat Mama and Navrin out in front, taking the bulk of the damage. But here comes the Karthus Wall of Pain right in the middle of the entrance. The Sivir ult going on down. Nocturne does finish, but here comes Galio. Teleport onto the ward. It is back up. Broto, will he be able to get out? Galio ult is up. Not going to need it quite yet. And there you go, Navrin attempting to kill steal. But Decozy will actually get it. There's actually no assist on there for the Nocturne.
Yeah, and Naprian was actually fighting with Cog for quite some time. Cog winning the exchange. However, Naprian was able to zone him out, so he wasn't really involved in the fight. The snowball, though, they're able to chase down Galio, and you know, he does have the range farming potential, but that snowball is just so devastating with the blood boil. Yeah. There's the first tower. They're able to take the mid turret. They're still pushing, though. There is no one here to defend this. They can take the second turret very easily. It is going to drop. There is no way that they're going to be able to get there in time.
Sivir ult was used in the dragon fight, but it's not really too much of an issue. You got Nocturne, you got Sivir, that's plenty, but they're gonna leave it up though. You nice pulverize coming in from Fat Mama. Elmapo still in pursuit. You got the Lilies coming in from Karthus, but here comes Kog'Maw down from bot lane, wants to help out, wants to get the kill on Alistar, but you do have Nocturne getting very low and does fall. Fat Mama will you do. The snowball not gonna be enough to take him out. 90 health he's getting away with. But Karthus does not have the ult, unfortunately.
Yeah, and they're going to be able to take down their mid turret as well as a result of this. I thought they had enough time. They thought they had enough time putting themselves a little bit out of position there. The pullback from Skarner onto Galio. He's going to drop very quickly. He throws off the ultimate, though. If Sivir can get some damage, Skarner almost going down. Broto just barely getting out of there.
Wow.
So we'll see whether or not this stalls out the push, because Sivir does have some nice clearing capabilities. Yes, it seems they're actually backing off.
It's the dangerous thing to be like in the back line when you're facing up against someone like Sivir, because you have that ricochet, you have the boomerang blade. Those are two fantastic abilities. Just hit anyone on the back line, and the boomerang, not even the boomerang, just the ricochet on its own, like one shot of that could have actually been enough to take out Broto. So might as well play it safe, fall on back. Just it's like, okay, fine, we lost a tower, we lost nearly 2, but you know, it's better that than having you know, potentially lose more champs.
Yeah, so that was, you know, to Gamehoppers' advantage, but Black, they've set themselves up for success as the game progresses. They've set themselves up to take that mid tower really quickly. They can try and snowball these turrets, and you know, looking at the farm, Sivir is doing very well on farm, and she is going for that Infinity Edge, it seems. Alvic chasing down the Omopo is actually able to get off some nice damage. He will be forced to back off. Once his ultimate's back up, it's a pretty short cooldown. He'll be able to sustain a little bit and, you know, sit around there still, though.
Muppo actually stacking potions, wants to stay in lane, wants to sustain, but he got some help coming on in pretty soon, plus Skarner with an Oracle. Naprian is setting himself up. I think they're looking to just go ahead and finish out the tower, but here comes Karthus, wall of pain, Muppo going on in for the engage, Fear Tethers going down onto the Aurelia, but Brojo in the middle of everything trying to get that damage with the Karthus. The AoE does quite a bit of damage, and there you go. Nice kill. Alvic is still gold though. Will he be able to get something? It doesn't look it, but you do have Alistar down bot lane. Sivir getting very low. The ult will be enough to finish the job. Fat Mama still with the ult on, trying to get back to tower. The snowball and all of that damage, a double kill for Rallies.
Yeah, and Face Roller was able to take down that mid turret, is pushing into the base, gets as much damage as he can so that they can try and, you know, poke it down and take it later, but they do lose their outer turret. A couple of kills, and all of a sudden they lost a 2k gold advantage. They're going to lose their top as well. So from a 2k gold advantage, all of a sudden Gamehoppers, they pull ahead in this game. So it's going to be, you know, about 500 gold advantage for this. So that's absolutely huge for Gamehoppers. Are they going to finish it? No, they're just barely not. The next minion wave should actually take it, yeah.
Hey, they're too late. They're a little bit lazy. Like, you know what, just we'll let them take care of it. I don't really feel like getting up right now. Nocturne, though, with the ult, wants to finish the job on the Broto. Fear Tethers do go down, wants to get rid of that Oracles real quick. Exhaust also, Spell Shield, just in case. Does not want to be slowed, but Broto with the shield and the extra movement speed.
Galio's coming from behind.
Get the safety. Galio coming on in. Does he not? He 2-1 now, he has the ult. But it's just a little bit too late on the draw. Could not get the positioning, could not move there fast enough.
Yeah, just not quite in time. It would have been nice to take down that Oracles since Skarner actually just bought it, and that'll give Skarner some nice map control. But Cog and Karthus are setting up in the top lane, so they actually want this counter initiation. They want Aurelia to bait in the Galio ultimate and then turn it around. The wall off from Karthus, they're trying to chase them down along with Aurelia. Alvic getting very low, has to flash out of there. Elmopa is pretty low as well, but Cog, he wants some kills. He's chasing down Naprian, can't quite get in range. The Karthus Qs are taking him down, though. He has to turn back into them. There's the Galio ultimate if they can pick up these kills. Nocturne does go down, but so does Karthus, and Gamehoppers is going to be able to chase them down and win this exchange.
Alvic, he's a little bit too slow there. Mr. Rallies will get that kill. He will be cool, but not going to be able to do a whole lot with it. Dekozy getting caught right in front of the Baron pit. Wants to kill an Elmapo, does manage to get it. Fat Mama not too far behind. Can he help? Snowball keeping Sivir slowed. The headbutt, where's the pulverize? Not seeing it, a little bit too late, and Fat Mama will be soloed out. This should be the ace. Does pop the ult. Just slow damage, keeping him slowed. Skarner right out in front. Should be enough. There you go. No ace, though. You did have Nocturne and Galio. They are back up.
And that fight is about as bad as it gets for Black, because Cog is just getting really far. I'm 7-0-2 right now, and Karthus as well. So all of a sudden, Gamehoppers, they take a 1k gold advantage. However, all of their gold is stacked onto their hyper carries, and they're just going to be so incredibly powerful. It's going to be very difficult for Black to deal with them. And we'd already kind of discussed they don't have a good means of dealing with Karthus and Cog in the late game. Cog has such attack range that it's going to be tough for them to engage back onto him, and then if they engage onto Karthus and whatnot, they have a very short range team, and they're all going to be sitting right in that Karthus AoE. So we'll see how they can try and come back from this. But Gamehoppers, beautifully played. Karthus and Kog'Maw moving up there, anticipating the aggression from Black and anticipating that situation. And actually, Rallis, he's going to be able to chase down Nocturne here. He has the red buff, and he's getting the vision with his ultimate, so he's going to maybe be able to pick up this kill with the snowball.
Nice.
Yeah, he's easily going to be able to grab this.
Nice flash, nice snowball. Nocturne's got nowhere to go and should be going down pretty quick. There you go, another kill for the Kog'Maw. Yeah, and you know what? Doesn't matter who's calling the shots in these next few team fights. Black is going to be sitting in Karthus's AoE regardless, whether they're initiating or not. Because you saw that last fight top lane, Galio comes in with the ult, and they're trying to stack as much damage as they can on the Karthus. Like you've taunted him. He's being locked down, and you're still sticking in the ult because you have no other choice.
Yeah, and it really hasn't worked out for them so far. Aurelia chasing down Yorick, but he's actually able to win the exchange.
Nice.
And so Yorick has done a fantastic job in this top lane, has been able to, use his early advantage against Aurelia to continue it up. And there is a point where Aurelia usually is strong enough to just, kill Yorick outright, but Yorick hasn't allowed that to happen. He's been able to snowball against Aurelia, done a really nice job there. But we'll see. This is a comp that I've seen before. I've seen it with Varus, actually, and with Corki, because they have the AoE damage. You have a tanky team. They kind of set up this AoE ultimate from Galio, and then you just try and clear them all out. So they do have the potential to very quickly win some fights. Karthus walking into Nocturne, though. He's going to be able to get the fear, and Karthus is going to go down pretty quickly. But Nocturne's actually getting pretty low as well. He needs to get out of there. Make sure he doesn't go down. One more Q, and an ultimate will be able to grab it.
Ultimate is snowball.
He does have the ultimate, but it's just enough.
That's a lot of damage Karthus is dealing
and Alistar engaging onto Kog'Maw. Sivir is there as well. They throw off the exhaust. Will burst him down pretty quickly, but Kog'Maw is strong enough that he's actually able to win the exchange. He takes down Sivir, and then the flash, Mr. Raleigh is just showing up Alistar, and Broto actually chasing down Fat Mammon right now. He doesn't have a really good escape plan. He will go down.
And Galio with the bulwark almost makes it happen, but cannot save the cow. And with this, Gamehoppers should be able to push up in mid. That mid tier 1 is full, but not for long.
I can't believe Kog'Maw just beat them in a 2v1. That is how absolutely absurdly strong he is right now. And along with that red buff. So it's going to be very difficult for Black to come back in this game. They can stall decently, if they can pick up some of these kills. If they can kill Cog or Karthus, then that's a huge opportunity for them, because they're going to be so tanky that Gamehoppers might struggle to kill them, but it's going to be tough because they have so much sustained damage. Alvic throwing off the slow backs out of there. So we'll kind of see how they can try and turn this around.
But we have to talk about the advantages of this comp for Black, because if you look at the scoreboard, it's a 2k deficit, but it's a 10 kill difference. That's, the math doesn't quite work out there. So there have been things that Black has been doing right. They've been farming correctly. They've been taking and pushing down towers correctly. They've had their aggression at Dragon correct. So if they can go ahead and keep the the advantages that they have going, they should be able to pull it out for a little longer. But as we've discussed, though, Gamehoppers, they do have the superior late game team.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, Black has put some nice pressure around the map. They have 4 turrets now, so they have taken quite a chunk into Gamehoppers' base. And if really they're just looking for one fight, and that's kind of the goal of their strategy, is to take one fight and then be able to take down the base. Takozy actually using the shield, so it is down for a second. He's kind of vulnerable. They want to play defensively for a second, but they've set themselves up where one team fight they could steamroll the base, take a tower, maybe even get an inhibitor. So, that is the benefit of what they've been trying to do.
I'm waiting for Broto to get the Impale, because whoever he gets is going to be disastrous. You got Sivir with some defensive Boomerang Blades to keep the pressure off of Sivir very, very low here in this fight. Broto on the tail end, on the end, does flash, does grab Alvic, should be melting before he ever gets a chance to ghoul, and that is what Gamehoppers wanted. You do have the teleport coming in from Face for X. You got the ult. 4 members of Gamehoppers caught in that. You got Nocturne ult, nice pulverize code from Alistar, but the damage just isn't there because Decozy went back to base.
And, well, they couldn't deal with it because Decozy was already low. They had poked them down. Black knows this game is over. There's the DC. I'm sure they've got a surrender vote going.
There it is.
It is over. And that's they were, even though the gold was pretty even, they were just so far behind. Like, you compare the two team strategies, and Gamehoppers was just vastly superior in those fights, and Black was never really able to get their team fight synergy working like they needed to.
Yeah, unfortunately, the comp just did not work out. Some of the early fights just did not go in their favor. Well, but you know what? It's a series. It's only game 1. There's still 2 more games to go. But you look historically, though, between these two teams, Gamehoppers quite often, nearly almost every time, ends out ahead.
Yeah, Gamehoppers is definitely very strong. They're right up on that top tier of teams, and it's interesting with the talk of World Championships coming around to try and compare the NA and EU teams. And Gamehoppers, looking at them, they look like they could match up against almost any NA team. And TSM actually was saying that they thought Pharrell and Lord's team, alternate, was just as strong as any of the top NA teams, was, one of those top teams. It's just that a couple of the other EU teams are that much better. They're so powerful right now. Yep. And that's going to be kind of interesting to see whether or not that proves true and how these teams match up, because Moscow 5 has looked absolutely dominant. They look so powerful, but it's been a while since we've seen those head-to-head matchups in a live environment. Online's a little bit different. You have advantages going, one way or the other, and people are kind of holding back some things. So we'll see that in the future, but right now, Black versus Gamehoppers. Gamehoppers coming off to a really exciting start.
Yep, and we will see game number 2 in just a little bit. We'll see what other strategies Black may have up their sleeve. We'll see if the Soraka still gets banned. We'll see if they can, if Soraka mid. Leave it open. It's a good crowd pleaser. We want to go ahead and see that one. Yep. But we'll see what these teams do. Black and Gamehoppers.EU game number 2 for IPL5 qualifier number 3 coming up in just a little bit.